Hello and welcome to the Infertility podcast. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Candace. Grab a biscuit because we've got the tea on all things infertility. If you'd like to stay up to date with our story, follow me on Instagram at Operation Baby Bump and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Operation Baby Bump. To get connected with others going through infertility, you can join the forums on theinfertility.com. This is a community resource created for infertiles by infertiles. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please rate us and leave us a cheeky little review. Hey guys, welcome to episode 13.
Hello.
Oh, Lord. I've had a day.
What happened?
Well, I'll just tell our listeners what happened to me today. I missed my flight this morning. It was bad. I was supposed to fly to New York this morning for a doctor's appointment. I need like this specific medication that my doctor in New York is recommending that I take. He's the one who found my endometriosis, and they removed it, and I am basically, all in with him, so I will do whatever he says I should do.
Mm-hmm. Sensibly.
Yeah. But they won't prescribe it out of state. They can, but they won't, I guess, due to liabilities. And my RE will not prescribe it because she doesn't know what it is. Yeah, she doesn't have any knowledge of immunology, and so she doesn't feel comfortable prescribing it. Yeah, so I was going to fly in and out today.
Yeah.
Well, I got to the airport, probably gave myself about an hour, and that probably was not a smart thing to do, but I fly in and out of Charleston all the time. It's a really small airport. I've never had to wait more than 30 minutes to get through security and to my gate. So
it's the best airport I've ever flown
honestly, yeah.
from. Yeah, it's just so quick.
Well, I had a basic economy ticket, and you're not allowed a carry-on on a basic economy ticket. Mm-hmm. So great. I'm traveling light. Mm-hmm. I was taking a small backpack, but if you don't know this, you have to actually wait in line to get your boarding pass.
Like you're checking luggage.
But to prove that you're not taking a carry-on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Which I don't like that. That's a very recent thing.
Exactly. And I really hate that because I think it's so inefficient.
Well, it will lose customers for the airlines.
Here's how they should do it. If I get to the gate and they scan my ticket, they check it then.
Yeah.
Does she have a carry-on? If she does, she's going to have to pay right now to check a bag. That would be better. Like, I'm paying for a really cheap ticket. I'm flying light.
Yeah. Like,
I'm traveling, I'm trying to travel efficiently, and that is not efficient. Yeah. So anyhow, I had to wait in that long line to get a boarding pass this morning. So that cost me a lot of time. Then I get to security. And it was taking forever.
It's a Monday. Busy.
I've never really flown on a Monday. Mm-hmm. So I guess this is another thing I did not have knowledge of. That Mondays are busy.
I should have told you. I'll be honest, I thought you were going to get there 2 hours before. Like I always preach.
We never get there 2 hours before.
When I'm flying on my own, I get there hours.
How come you don't do it with me then?
Because you're normally in charge.
Yeah. And we always make our flights.
Well, hey, do you remember that time when we were going to London and we got the slowest Uber driver in the world?
Oh, that was stressful.
He was late.
I was like clawing at the door, like, please God, just speed up. There.
We had a connecting flight in New York, right? And then on to London, and we nearly missed it.
Yeah, almost missed it. Anyhow, security took forever. Then they decided to pat me down, and They told me to wait to the side, and I said, please, my flight is due to leave in like 15 minutes. And he said, well, I can't tell you how long this is going to take. So I started crying.
As you do.
I started crying because I was like, I'm going to miss my flight. And then I'm going to miss my doctor's appointment. So...
Were you rude? Would you describe yourself as
No,
rude?
I just started bawling. Like,
Yeah.
I just broke down. He was rude. After about 5 minutes of standing there, this woman walks so slowly over to me that I thought she was having some type of, like, brain malfunction.
Mm-hmm.
She just was, like, sloth-like.
Yeah.
Crawling over towards me. And then she takes about another 3 minutes to describe what she's going to do to me in my pat down. All the while, I'm like, ma'am, I really need to get to my flight. Can you just do it? And she's like, ma'am, can you see your property? And I said, what? She goes, can you see your property? And she points over to my stuff. And I was like, yes. And she's like, okay. I'm going to run the back of my hands down around your body. And I was like, what? Because she was mumbling. And she was like, I'm going to...
So you do know that I'm going to be as nice as I can about this. Like, those guys have no expertise apart from they got the job.
Right. But I just told her, like, I've got to get to my flight, so put your hands on me. Stick your hand up my butt. I don't care. Just please pat me down so I can get on with my life. I don't need the 3-minute spiel about this, that, and the other. So then she pats me down thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I started crying again, by the way, while she was patting me down because she was taking forever.
Yeah.
Then she said, I need to go test my gloves. Give me a second. So she slowly walks around the thing, rubs her gloves with the little cotton swab or whatever. And I'm standing there like ready to run.
Mm-hmm.
And she gives me the thumbs up and I ran. As I'm running, I see that my terminal gate is already closed. The gate's already closed.
They close it 30 minutes before, right? Is what they
No,
say.
she said that they closed it 8 minutes before. And I got there at 5 till. So, I'm knocking on the door, waving my boarding pass. Someone looks at me through the glass and says, 1 minute. Then she finally comes over and she goes, we're going to have to get you on another flight. I said, please. The plane is still there. Please let me on. I've got to get to a doctor's appointment. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is important. Like, I've got to get this medication. And I need to start it ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care.
Nope.
So again, I cried again. Started crying again. I was just in pieces. So she took me over to another computer in an entirely different terminal. So at this point, she's parading me through the airport, bawling. And people are looking at me. They're like, you missed your flight.
I mean, you weren't crying like, oh my God.
I was like,
oh my gosh.
That's how I was crying. I was in shambles.
Yeah.
But the next flight was not arriving in New York until 12:45. And my appointment was at 11:30. And that was not going to work. I tried to see if my doctor could see me later, and he couldn't. Mm-hmm. So I left.
It's the only
and I went to
thing
work.
To do. Yeah.
That is not how I imagined my morning going. But you know what? Ultimately, it was my fault for not leaving myself 2 hours. Mm-hmm. However, I will say that I would have made my flight had those events not occurred. So, partially my fault, partially the airport's fault. Sorry if you work in an airport and you're cursing my name, but
things could have been done a lot quicker.
They could have been done in a more efficient manner. So, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm stressed. But let's get on with this episode.
Let's.
So today we're wrapping up our series on major causes of infertility by talking about one of my favorite things.
What's that?
Well, one of my least favorite things. Toxic chemicals. Now, before I get started, I want to say I am not an expert on this subject. However, I've done a lot of research on toxic products, and for the most part, I've been chemical free for the past 3 years now. So I've learned trial and error. I've bought a lot of products that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to say that what we're talking about today could cause people to feel really overwhelmed about things that, like how much should you care about these things?
Yeah.
To me, going through IVF and going through infertility, this was one of the things that I had partial control over. Everything else, such as, my cycles and my treatments and my stupid body, I can't control any of that. But if I can eliminate certain things out of my life,
variables.
Yeah, I can minimize exposure to certain chemicals, then that's something that I wanted to do for myself. There's a lot that's out of our control. So I just wanted to do my part to minimize toxins from my life and in the ways that I can. There are chemicals in our environment every day. So like pollution and things like that, we can't avoid most of it.
Unless you wear a mask like they do in China.
Yeah.
You know, when they're at the airport and they've got the mask on.
And some days I really want to wear a mask.
You should do it.
But for the purposes of keeping this episode really concise, I want to focus on toxic products like household products, cleaning products, beauty products, etc. Toxins in our food isn't something I want to get into because honestly, that makes me want to just jump off a cliff. I'm not an expert on that, and I haven't done much research on that, but I will kind of touch on food and things in this episode. My awareness of toxic chemicals began when I was little. From a young age, I started noticing things about food containers and how sometimes food would taste like plastic, and I thought that was really weird.
Builds character. Like when you microwave some noodles.
Yeah.
And then you're like, plastic sauce.
No.
Very nice.
But seriously, I've always been a picky eater. And this is kind of one of my quirks that I always had was, ooh, that kind of tastes like plastic. When I was in elementary school, my dad used to make me soup in the morning sometimes, and he would put it in a thermos to keep it hot. And by the time I would get to it for lunch, it would taste like plastic.
Yeah, that's how that was.
So most of the time I didn't eat it. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening. I don't want to make him feel bad, but...
That's so cruel to tell him now.
And in high school, I kind of lived off of those ramen noodles and the ones that came in the styrofoam cup. I used to eat those.
Just before you go any further, what do you call Roman?
Oh yeah, me and Chelsea, my best friend in high school, the one who we got banned from National Geographics.
Sex ed. You got banned from sex ed as well, right?
She didn't, but I did.
You did.
Anyways, her and I used to call them Roman numerals.
Little story behind that, when Candace was living in England, her dad sent a care package that had some ramen noodles in, and she'd be like, yes, Roman numerals. And I was like, what is she saying?
He's like, this girl's crazy. But yeah, I used to eat those all the time. And I remember one time I heated up my food. I microwaved the noodle cup, and I was sitting there talking to my friends for ever, and then I realized I wasn't eating, so then I started eating my noodles, and they tasted like chemicals because they had been sitting in that styrofoam.
Styrofoam in it.
Yeah, and I was like, gross, and so I didn't eat those anymore.
Fair.
I started bringing a bowl with me and using the other, the packages instead. So MSG over chemicals.
Yeah. In England, they're called pot noodles, and they don't come in the styrofoam. They come in plastic.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And they taste horrible.
oh, dude, the chicken and mushroom pot noodle. Get out of 10.
Gross.
It's delicious.
No. Needs salt.
I want that now. It's overly salty.
It's not.
It is.
So anyway, over the last several years, I've taken note of like campaigns against plastics, deodorant, tampons, things like that. And I remember when menstrual cups came out on the scene, and I was like, I'm good. But I switched to menstrual cup. Like,
I bought you your first
you
menstrual
did.
cup.
I was like, yeah, you went to CVS.
Yeah, CVS.
And got me a Diva cup.
Where did we see it? It was on television, wasn't
I don't remember, but I was like, I really want to try it because I just don't want to stick
Chemicals.
chlorine
Yeah.
and things like that. You know, they don't have to disclose what they put in tampons. Like,
That's terrifying.
you look at the ingredients and you're not going to find what's actually in tampons. But I actually use a menstrual cup now and I love it.
Yeah.
And I'll never go back. So, a little personal tidbit about me.
It's like alternatives are really important.
Yeah.
So just saying, hey, don't use tampons and not giving an alternative is, it's kind of not helpful.
True. And I will say, I used the Diva cup for like 2 years and...
Not the same one. You switched out.
But then I switched to the Moon cup because I bought one in the UK when we went. And I actually preferred that one.
What would you say you preferred? Was it the shape?
The shape, I think. It was like smaller.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But it still captures as much.
Yeah. Still okay.
Oh, it's revolting.
We're going on a tangent. So, like most of you listening, I read the book. It starts with the egg. And that was
It starts with the egg.
Okay. That was a bonus.
Music.
It was really eye-opening for me, and really was kind of the gateway for me to go completely non-toxic, because when I read that book, we were starting IVF. We hadn't started it yet, but we were gearing up for it. I really wanted to kind of start integrating those, non-toxic products and weeding out things for the fertility treatments that we were going. Now, I will be doing a blog post on like all my favorite products, like makeup, hair, body, things like that. So be looking for that on theinfertility.com soon. But I want to talk about some of the harmful chemicals to be aware of. And I have cited all the information that I'm going to give to you in this episode on our podcast website, theinfertility.podbean.com. So all my sites are going to be there.
Cool.
As I said before, there's a lot that we cannot control. When you go to a restaurant and you go to the bathroom, you have to use their soap, like they've cleaned their toilets with toxic chemicals, like things like that you can't control. And you can really make yourself crazy.
Just don't wash your hands.
Please wash your hands.
Just please wash your hands.
So the first one I want to talk about that many of you probably know, BPA. It stands for bisphenol A. And this has been used in plastics.
I'm sorry. It stands for bisphenol A.
Yes.
There's no P in there.
Bisphenol.
Oh, so it's 2 words. Cool. I thought you
no,
said
it's not 2 words.
It's not?
It's 1 word, bisphenol A. Anyways, moving on. It's been used in plastics and resins since the 60s. So, if you're still using Grandma's Tupperware, there's a really great chance there's BPA in it.
And it's degrading, and it's in your food.
Yeah. It's also used widely in single-use food containers, like takeaway boxes, and it's used in tin cans, water supply lines. It's also used in some dental sealants, which is awesome, because I've had so much dental work in my day. In my short 33 years of life, I have had a lot of dental work.
You are old.
I just have really soft teeth.
You do have really soft teeth.
Anyways, the reason this chemical is dangerous when it comes in contact with your food is because when the plastic is heated, say you microwave your lunch in it at work, the BPA molecules can become free and they can leach into your food. Likewise, when the plastics are too cold, say when frozen, the BPA can also leach into your food, which is why things are labeled freezer safe, microwave safe, dishwasher safe, etc.
Yeah.
One time, I believe it was my second or third egg retrieval, I called it my favorite Thai restaurant to order to go. Basil. And I used to get basil all the time because we lived right down the street from it, so I'd walk down there and get it. And of course, they serve their takeout in plastic containers. And I guess I was just feeling really sensitive that day and really hypersensitive to the plastic thing. So I asked the lady on the phone if they could put my food in the aluminum container. They serve their chicken fried rice in it. So I thought,
for the English people, that's aluminium.
Ay, Dios mío. So anyways, I said, can you put it in that container instead of the plastic? She's like, sure. So I get there and the manager comes out and she was like, I mean, we can't put it in that. And I was like, why? And she's like, because it's too hot. And I was like, can you do it anyway? And she was just like, it's too hot to put that kind of food, because I guess it's like saucy or whatever.
Yeah,
And I was just like, so of course I started crying because I was in a really fragile state at the time. And you know, this episode's going to make me sound like I cry a lot, and I really don't.
No, you don't.
I'm not a crier, but I was
You cry when you're frustrated.
Yeah, I cry when I'm like angry or I'm frustrated, but she just like...
Not when you're sad, though.
Not when I'm sad.
If you're sad, you react differently. Angst, tears.
But I just don't know why it was so hard. And they ended up not putting it in the aluminum. They ended up putting it in plastic. So I rushed home and took it out of the plastic. But I just really wish more restaurants were more conscious of that kind of stuff.
You should have wooden containers.
Well, they have these containers that are like, they're paper, but they're recycled, and so they're thicker and more durable. The hospital I work in actually uses them, and I really appreciate that. And environmentally, single-use plastics, like, don't get me started on how bad they are for the environment.
Yeah, it's a plastic full stop. It's horrible.
I wish there was some other way. Those single-use plastics are not made to be reused. So, like, why are we wasting...
Cheap.
I guess. Anyways, I could go really off on a tangent, but anyways.
I don't want you to cry, so let's move on.
I am still feeling really fragile. So research has shown that exposure to BPA affects the brain, behavior, prostate glands in fetuses, infants and children, and has also been linked to high blood pressure. In fact, recently, in the past, I would say several years maybe, they've moved towards banning BPA in children's toys.
Oh, that was still a thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
It used to be used in baby bottles, and just think about you and I. We were born in the 80s, and our moms were microwaving our baby bottles.
Dang.
Or heating the milk in the baby bottles on the stove, or things like that.
That explains a lot about us.
No wonder why I'm infertile.
Oh, no.
It's just like, why? But
I heard something about BPA, that it breaks down and the human body sees it, for males, the human body sees it as the female hormone. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, we're not going to cite that, but we will. You need to look into it. Yeah.
That's Daniel J. Van Wade's expertise.
That's a fact for a day.
But listen, most notably, like Daniel was talking about, the reason I care about BPA is BPA is an endocrine disruptor, which means it interferes with how our natural hormones like estrogen, androgens, thyroids operate in the body. And apparently, Daniel says that they mimic estrogen in men, which is probably true. I didn't look that up, but it sounds about right.
Yeah.
It is pretty easy to avoid BPA in your house, I would say. You can look for BPA-free cans at the store. I've started to see more and more non-BPA lined cans. Use glass when you're heating up food.
Mm-hmm.
There are BPA-free plastics you can use. Systema is a good brand. I believe it's a Swedish brand, and all of their plastic containers are BPA free. I have a few of them, but I don't heat them or cool them. I always put like ranch dressing in it if I'm like having carrots and ranch or something. But I don't ever like heat. There's still plastic chemicals in there, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, and I think that's a sensible move, because in 20 years' time when we look back, what's going to be the BPA of that age?
Exactly.
Right?
And if it's BPA free, they're using other chemicals in it, so we don't know enough about the alternatives that are being used.
Yeah. Oh, it's got that GCE in it, isn't it?
So it's just better to use glass or ceramic when heating food. Again, we can't control so much of our exposure to BPA, because even if you go to Whole Foods, like most of their food is packaged in plastic. Most of the restaurants that we eat at prep their food in plastics. They store their food in plastics. I still eat Chipotle a lot, and I say Chipotle, not Chipotle. Sorry about that.
Which is the right way to say it?
I think it's Chipotle, but
yeah.
You know, I've always said Chipotle.
I've always said
I don't
Chipotle.
know.
Can I say my mum says Chipotle?
But they heat their beans in plastic bags before pouring them into the serving dish.
Yeah, pretty much everything comes in plastic bags.
Right, but they heat the beans.
Actually,
they cook the beans
broil
in the plastic bags. Like, I've seen them do it. And when I first saw them do it, I was like mortified.
Yeah.
I don't know if that plastic is safe, and why are you heating the beans in the plastic and then putting it? I don't know. But listen, guys, this is not something that we have control over. So we either eat it or don't. We either eat there or don't. And I'm going to still eat there.
Yeah, you're going to take that risk for sure.
I minimize my exposure to BPA and some other chemicals that I'm about to talk about. And sometimes you just can't control all of it.
Nope.
And I've heard a lot of people, like my family, when I kind of got on this kick, say to me, oh, everything's going to kill you at some point.
I mean, I was saying that.
And that's
well.
true.
Yeah.
That is true. But if I can minimize those things for my safety, for my fertility, I'm going to do it. If you don't know if something is BPA free or not, check the recycling code on the bottom. So this is going to be like a little triangle made out of arrows, like a recycling symbol, and it's going to have a number in the middle. Mm-hmm. Numbers 2, 4, and 5 are BPA free. Numbers 1 and 7 are made of PET.
What is PET exactly?
It's polyethylene terephthalate.
Is that bad or good?
It is not good. You should use these with caution.
Okay.
And they may contain BPA, but they do contain PET, which is a phthalate, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Man, that's so much to
Numbers 3 and 6, runaway. These are made out of PVC, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is very dangerous. So, check the numbers on the bottom if you want to put your mind at ease.
So, what was number 4?
Numbers 2, 4, and 5 are BPA free.
So, do they use something else instead of the BPA that could be dangerous?
Potentially. Like I said, we don't know.
My water bottle is a 4.
Yeah, yours water bottle's BPA free because I bought that. All right, now the next chemical I want to talk about are phthalates. These are plastic softeners, and they're actually there are actually different types of phthalates. You have high phthalates, which are the more durable compounds. These include DINP, DIDP, DPHP. I won't go into them.
They've got some long names.
Yeah, they have some long names.
Thank goodness for acronyms.
And those are usually used in conjunction with PVC. So things that PVC is used in products, which I'll talk about in a minute. But there's also low phthalates, and these are like DEHP and DBP.
Mm-hmm.
These are largely used in cosmetics, hairspray, nail polish, makeup, etc. These are also endocrine disruptors and linked to reproductive malformation in baby boys, reduced fertility, developmental disorders, asthma, and increased allergic reactions.
Why just boys?
I don't know.
Do you think this goes back to the...
This might go back to the estrogen thing.
Yeah, the hormone. Yeah.
And also, as I mentioned before, BPA is also linked to prostate issues in males.
Development issues,
so,
right?
Yeah. But because phthalates, as in the chemical compound of the phthalate, they're not tightly bound, these easily migrate. So they migrate easily from plastic food containers into food and water. They've also been identified by Project Tinder, which is targeting environmental neurodevelopmental risk, as a prime example of chemicals of emerging concern to brain development.
Isn't Tinder a dating app?
It is, but that's not the Tinder I'm talking about.
Oh, it's Tender.
TENDR.
Oh, so not Tinder.
So it
It
is very concerning for brain development. So if you're pregnant, limit your exposure to phthalates.
Yeah, basically, if you're pregnant, well, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, well done. But no, kidding. But secondly, just eat grass like a cow and drink water, not from plastic bottles.
Right. There's also a TED Talk that I'll post on our website that was done back in 2016, and oh gosh, this made my head spin. It really makes me sad, but she talks about how the use of chemicals are largely political, and so that this is probably likely not going away anytime soon. But we can pray and hope.
Yeah.
Makeup, cosmetics, like I said, lotions, things, a lot of those things contain phthalates. The last one I want to talk about, which is probably the worst one, is PVC. This stands for polyvinyl chlorine. It's a really hard plastic, made softer by the addition of phthalates and BPA. PVC is used to make pipes, vinyl flooring, siding, hoses, cable coating, medical devices, plumbing, and automotive parts. Those are just some. It's also used to make upholstery, hardware, shower curtains. That's right, shower curtains. Raincoats, toys, school supplies,
Windows,
food packaging.
Around the outside of a window, they're PVC.
Shoes. And guess what? Yoga mats.
What?
Yoga mats contain PVC.
How am I supposed to get my downward dog on?
I know. I actually have a PVC-free yoga mat. And it was not cheap, but I will say, when you're sticking your face on something, and you're sweating on something, you're breathing right up against something. I don't know if you've ever used a yoga mat and it just stunk like new plastic.
Yeah.
That's
How much was
not
it?
for
Like
me.
$30?
Yeah, I think it was like $30. So maybe it wasn't that expensive.
By comparison, when you can pick one up for $5-10. Yeah, I guess.
Definitely. But PVC has been linked to cancer, nervous system disorders, and birth defects. Also, because most of the time it contains phthalates, it's also considered an endocrine disruptor. Look for PVC-free items like shower curtains. My shower curtain is PVC-free. A lot of them will say that on the packaging. They're usually pretty proud to say that. Reduce drinking out of water bottles, I would say. And I usually take a stainless steel water bottle with me to work, but like today when I was at the airport or when I was out shopping on Saturday and I left my bottle at home, what are you going to do? Thirst to death, or are you going to drink water? Drink water.
Do you know, is there a company that makes a BPA-free plastic bottle? Fiji
Water, their bottles are BPA-free.
Yeah.
I don't know about Smart Water, but I do know Fiji has BPA-free.
Is probably the most expensive what you can get, like mainstream, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, again, you can't control if you need water, get a bottle of water. I mean, for crying out loud, you need water. And there are trace amounts. Generally, how I think about it, I think years ago on the news they were talking about don't drink out of water bottles because they're stored in warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're bottled, they're stored, and then they're shipped, and then they're stored again.
Yeah.
So you don't know if they're stored in like most warehouses are not air conditioned, so they're probably sitting out in the heat. But I think the major concern with that news story was the bacteria growing in the bottles. We could really go down a rabbit hole with this whole thing, so I'll stop talking about that.
Just one story I've got to tell you. When I was younger, my mum used to not allow me to drink from cans of like drinks, but not because of metal or anything. She said that they're stored in the warehouses and then rats pee all over the mouth on them. So, like,
that's
when I was
true.
Around, I was. Is it? Do you think?
Yeah, of course. Those cans are filthy. That's why you have to wipe them off.
Wipe them down first.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, you always want and like tin cans when you're making, like, if you are using
like baked beans.
Yeah, exactly. You should always wipe the rim off. Always. Everybody knows that.
Can we remove this bit from the podcast?
Anyway, so I've kind of covered a lot of information that just gives you an upfront taste of some of the chemicals I've talked about that are found in consumer products. But one of the biggest impacts these can make on your health and other products like hair products, body products, makeup, is because we're using those things all the time.
Yeah.
For everything. I mean, when I first weeded through all my stuff, there's just so much of it. Lotion, hair, shampoo, body wash, shaving cream, toothpaste, everything.
And that's including the Bath and Body Works stuff.
Oh my gosh. I used to be obsessed with Bath and Body Works. And truth be told, I used to get under my wedding rings, I would get like these breakouts. And I would get like this red, chapped, like...
Looked like eczema kind of.
Yeah, it kind of did. But I always thought it was like, oh man, my rings are really dirty. So I would wash my rings and then it'd keep happening. And it was the fragrances in the soaps that I was using. And once I cut that out, it never happened again. So...
Saved a lot of money as well.
There are plenty of people in this world who cover themselves in Wet n Wild makeup. They bathe in Calgon perfume.
Calgon.
Or Bod. There's like a Walmart brand version.
Is there really?
Yeah, it's called Bod.
Bod.
And they're sitting on toilet seats getting pregnant. But you know what? Those people are not us. So if you're listening to this we're not those people.
We are not.
So,
we will be.
We will.
All of us will be.
Well, we may not be sitting on toilet seats getting pregnant.
No, and we don't want that.
But
whose kid is it?
I will say, if you're struggling to get pregnant, toxic products are something that you should probably really consider.
Remove.
Especially if you have unexplained infertility. This is definitely something just to consider. It could improve your egg quality. It could, minimize hormone disruption. If you're going through treatments, your hormones are being manipulated anyways. So having toxic chemicals that you're using or in the environment influence those things is probably not a great thing. I started changing my products in, I would say, early 2016 before I think we had started talking about doing IVF, and I wanted to kind of gear up for that.
Yeah.
Deodorant was probably the first thing to get switched. And like I said, I started using the Diva Cup instead of tampons.
Can we go back to deodorant? Because you are the only person on earth that I've ever met that is immune to deodorants after a while.
Get immune.
So you have to keep changing. It's like a rotation.
I do have to keep changing, and nothing works. Like, I used Piper Y for 2 years, and it worked perfectly for 2 years. Stained all my pits because it was activated charcoal. But I will say that worked the best for me for the longest.
Yeah, I liked the Piper Y as well for me.
Yeah,
I liked that
but
one.
it did. It stained our clothes. And then it stopped working, and I kind of wrote them, and they were like, it sounds like you have a pH imbalance. Stick some apple cider vinegar on your armpits, and that should do it. And I was like, nah.
I'm a change.
But yeah, I've tried so many different deodorants. The best ones I've found is Schmidt's in the pot, not the stick. It's like a different formula, and that's worked for me, the fragrance-free one. Also, I'm trying, thanks to my sweet friend Ashley Goslin for referring Little Seed Farms. I'm trying that out right now. I got some samples online, and I'll be honest with you, after the day I've had, I'm smelling a little ripe.
Yeah.
But not as bad as I would if I was wearing something else.
There's been days you come home, you
Smelling like
you've worked.
an onion.
Yeah, it's like you've worked a full day on a building site.
It's true.
Which one do I use? What's mine called?
Use Tom's, and actually, the Tom's 48-hour men's works kind of good for me too.
It's really good.
So I should probably, but that one's hard to find because they're all 24-hour, but there's a 48-hour one.
So what you're saying is that you need twice as much
I need twice as much protection in a day. It's true.
It's true.
But when I first started changing all my stuff, I went a little bit mad. I threw out everything. I believe it was like 5 paper bags from Harris Teeter. All the plastic spoons, cutting boards, bowls, cups, everything. I threw it all out.
It was a purge.
It was a purge. Afterwards, I realized, I kind of need some plastic bowls because, like, I thaw chicken breast in a plastic bowl. It doesn't come in contact with my food. I'm not heating it up in there, so that's safe.
Yeah.
And just general things like for cleaning or storing things. I probably shouldn't have thrown everything away, but I was committed and I felt good about it. After I had already replaced everything with products from Whole Foods, which, by the way, not all of Whole Foods lotions and things are non-toxic. A lot of them still contain fragrances, which phthalates are fragrance. Mm-hmm. So that's just a side note. But anyway, I started seeing all those products at Marshall's and TJ Maxx. So they were nearly half the price.
And like Home Goods as well, right?
Yeah. Marshall's and Home Goods are one store.
Oh, cool.
But that's where I get all my stuff now. So I get all, and Target's pretty good as well. They have a really great all natural section. Another tip besides getting products at TJ Maxx and Marshall's is, like, if you go to Starbucks, not one thing at Starbucks is BPA free. So
really?
Their cups, their lids, all of it. And not even their merchandise is BPA free. So those big plastic tumblers, they're not BPA free.
Well, it's cheaper, isn't it? They're all about profit margin.
Of course. But I still go to the Bucks from time to time.
When was the last time you went to the Bucks? So it's not often
actually,
nowadays.
I went on Saturday.
You did? What did you get?
I got a decaf caramel macchiato.
Decaf? Interesting.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want to get like a latte, an iced latte, what they do is they put the syrup in the bottom, because I used to work there, and then they'll pour the espresso on top of the syrup to heat the syrup.
Ooh.
but that also heats the plastic. So if
Yeah.
you want a latte, like an iced latte, order it macchiato style, because then they'll pour the shots on the top. They'll pour the shots on top of the ice, so it's not really heating the plastic. That's just a little tip. Also, because I'm kind of a freak, I carry around stainless steel straws with me.
I don't think there is anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
More and more people are doing it, I
Yeah,
think.
and you know what? I always get compliments on it. Like, every time I pull it out at a restaurant, I'll use my stainless steel straws, and people are like, that's amazing. Like, I should do that. So,
And there's so many options out there where they come with little carrying pouches as well.
yeah,
So,
I have a carrying pouch, and they also come with straw brushes
Yeah,
that you
to
can
clean them out.
clean them really well with.
make the move, everyone. It's
Yeah.
not that expensive. Less than $10. It's a good commitment.
Yeah, they're really cheap too on Amazon. So anyway, these are just little things that I've learned. So yeah, I mean, I know this was a lot of information to take in. And again, don't feel crazy and don't feel like you're not doing the best thing for yourself if you really don't care about these things, because besides these chemicals, like, there are so many other things to worry about in this life.
Yeah.
If you do care, you do have a certain amount of control over things in your environment. So that's just some things to think about. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
So that will conclude our series on major causes of infertility. If you have any ideas for other major causes of infertility, please write us at thevanwades@gmail.com or slide into my DMs at
Slide on
Operation Baby Bump on Instagram. We would love to hear your thoughts on this series, and if you found it helpful. Just a side note about last week's episode about male factor infertility. I had someone write me and tell me that they had a friend who actually went through chemotherapy, and after that he was no longer able to produce sperm. So I think we talked about azoospermia, having the absence of sperm in the seminal fluid, and how that was probably a birth thing.
Yeah.
And in some cases it might be, but it is worth mentioning and following up that there could be injuries or other things that cause the sperm to no longer be present. So I just wanted to add that. And thank you for writing me and telling me that. But yeah, we really want to hear your thoughts and your feedback.
Next time on the Infertility Podcast.
Self-care during fertility treatments.
Thanks for listening. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Candace.
Night.
Night.